Hey everyone, Christian back here, and this is going to be a thorough review of Copernicia Macroglossa, better known as the Cuban petticoat palm. And this palm, like many Copernicia species, has been uncommon in the plant trade, but is becoming more common as more seeds become available. Is because it's a Cuban Copernicia, it's not as easy to get pure seeds of, but recently the price has dropped quite a bit, but these plants still remain just as beautiful as they were when they were a little more rare. This palm comes from the westernmost province of Cuba, Pinar del Rio, and it is it's about as close as you're going to get to South Florida's climate in Cuba. The Cuba and Florida have a similar climate, just Cuba's climate is pretty much frost-free, where Florida's climate, you will get the occasional frost depending on where you live. So now this palm, you can see that it actually holds a skirt on it, and it will do this for a very long time. I've seen them fall off on ones that are over 40 years old, but other than that, they will keep it until they're 15, 20 feet tall. And as you can also see, you don't really see any branches or petioles, and that's because they don't naturally have them. They kind of just open up leaves right off of the trunk, and if you can see inside there, that's pretty much it. You can see it pretty much opens right off of the trunk. It's hard to get in there. This palm does not look spiny, but on each side of the leaflet there are spines, and it's actually pretty hard to get into the middle of this plant and trim it up. But it is a popular method of cultivating the plant in Asia, is to trim up the fronds and actually be able to see the trunk. They would trim up pretty much everything below the horizontal there, and you'd be able to see kind of like a little hairy trunk that's growing up with a little fan of leaves on the top, and it actually looks very nice. But this is the natural way for it to grow, and this is the way everyone grows it in the Western Hemisphere. So right here is actually the flowering bract, and all flowering bracts of Copernicias will extend outside of the fronds. It is a interfoliar bract as opposed to an intrafoliar bract, which stays within the limits of the fronds. So sometimes you can determine what species a plant is by whether it has interfoliar or intrafoliar flowering bracts. So that's common with Prochardia, and I will discuss that with other plants in the future. So this palm likes it. It'll grow in swampy areas where its roots can stay nice and wet. It doesn't like to be flooded, but it does like having wet feet. So it does like a lot of water. It likes tons of sun. It kind of grows out in fields, just in blazing sun, like most Copernicias. And once it gets to a certain size, it actually starts to take off and become a good, nice, fast grower. This palm was probably no bigger than, it was probably just coming, it kind of hangs out in the ground with a skirt when it starts to grow fast, maybe 2 or 3 feet tall. And this palm was probably that way about 5 to 6 years ago, so now it's about 10 feet tall. That's actually about as fast as it's going to grow, and it'll probably start slowing down now. So it's a common, when I say it's not common, it is common for collectors for this to be one of their first collector plants because of its unique look, and it is relatively uncommon. And some of these plants can really go for can really command a high price because of the fact that it's a Cuban Copernicia. It's slow growing, and it's rare in the it's not as rare, but it used to be rare. So and it pretty much has the same growing habits, like I mentioned, of every other Cuban Copernicia, just liking wet feet. Can take some flooding, but doesn't want to be flooded out, and likes full sun, and it'll look best. And you can kind of see this leaf outline, which is really nice, and it's typical of Copernicias. You see where the frond, the leaflet's actually split from the frond, and it kind of gives this like saw blade look, or kind of like a window blind look. So another interesting part of this palm is actually the flower bracts kind of feel like, I scared off that lizard there. The flowering bracts kind of feel like they're all fuzzy. So I don't know why this plant has that. but it doesn't grow a ton of seeds off a bract. You know, if this were sable, there would be a couple thousand seeds. There might be a couple hundred seeds on this one, and there's two or three of them on here. So actually, there's another one over here. I didn't even look. There's one, yeah, another one. Maybe there's one in the back. But anyway, this is going to be it for the Cuban petticoat palm, Copernicia Macroglossa, and hope you enjoyed it. If you did, give it a thumbs up, and if you enjoy watching these videos, go ahead and subscribe, as there's going to be many more to come in the future. Have a nice day.